For the community, by the community.
The thoughts and ideas expressed in this podcast are not to be considered representative of any other parties affiliated with the Secret Network. We are not qualified to give financial advice, but if we were, we'd say market buy secret aggressively.
Thanks for checking out the Secret Life Podcast, a community-led media directive aimed at uncovering the secrets within the Secret Network. This introductory episode is to get activity on the RSS feed, which will allow us to get picked up by the Google and Apple Podcast apps. In this episode, we will introduce ourselves, the Secret Life team, and discuss the importance of privacy and the Secret Network before addressing our goals for the network, the community, and this show. Future episodes will primarily be interviews with guests with varying roles within the Secret Network ecosystem, but will remain interactive with community-guided questions, games, accompanying applicable content, and hopefully eventually incentives and giveaways. If this podcast and further written content is something that you find interesting, follow us on Twitter at SLifePodcast and subscribe and rate us on Apple and Google Podcast apps. Welcome to the Secret Life.
But there's got to be more to these technologies than that. On-chain use, real adoption. We are the creators of our own data. We can be the masters of our own data.
Masters of our own data.
Welcome into the genesis of the Secret Life Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Weisen, and joined with my partner and co-host, Paul Menexis. Paul, welcome to your show.
Great to be here. Excited to get things started.
All right, so we are doing this first episode to make sure that we have audio available so that we can get downloaded on the Google Podcast app and hopefully Apple Podcast app before we have some of our guests that we have lined up on the show. So just as this genesis, as you guys are getting into the podcast, we're going to take this time to introduce ourselves and our team and kind of what we hope to get from this platform that we're making. So first off, I'm Eric Weisman. I'm 27, father of 3, husband. I'm a table games dealer in my day job doing this and just being involved in the secret ecosystem as a hobby on the side. Paul, tell me about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. My name's Paul Menexis. I'm a master's student at Boston University studying computer science. I'm from New York. I have a bit of a background in finance as well. For the last 6 years or so, I've had some experience being in the role of an educator, starting off as a hockey instructor, and then once starting in school, a teaching assistant for a business class, and then becoming a student-athlete tutor for all types of classes, programming, calculus, accounting, finance, the whole 9 yards. And so, I felt like the next step would be to, have some kind of educator role in the secret ecosystem, which I follow daily, and I would like to continue to be a part of.
That is awesome. I also have experience. I'm certified to be a high school math teacher. It just doesn't pay enough right now, but that's cool that you're a hockey instructor. I coached baseball and football for a little while. Someday I'll get back into that. So now that we know a little bit about yourself and your involvement in Secret Network and the community, I also have been around for 4 years, since 2017, in the backgrounds on the Telegram channels and the Discord, and also kind of feel like this is a chance to take that next step up and get more into content creation instead of just consumption, which I feel like I'm in a position where I know what the community's questions are because they're my questions. And so as I get in touch, as you get in touch with the core contributors to the secret ecosystem, we'll have a unique experience and connection with the community that will kind of fill a niche that the core contributors themselves might not know the community has, since they're already so intimately involved. And also, since there are so many committees, which we'll get into in future episodes, and so many facets of the secret network, it really is a decentralized ecosystem. Hopefully, along the way, we'll tell these people who are in their own niches in this ecosystem and teach them about what's going on in the rest of it. So hopefully, my goal in this podcast is that there's information and education available for everyone. Everyone has something to learn, whether you're Tor Bear or whether you're somebody off the street and this is your first time hearing about crypto. One more thing I plan on doing in this podcast is getting the guests a little bit more intimately involved with the community. And one question I have for that is, what are some non-generic traits about yourself that you would have taught to your great-great-grandkids about you? Like not just, oh, I'm nice, I was smart or whatnot. What's something that's uniquely you?
Yeah, so I guess a few traits to describe myself, I personally would say I'm intellectually curious. And by that, I mean I enjoy learning basically anything under the sun. I'm personally interested in astronomy, history, specifically military history, and those are maybe more so hobbies. Crypto, I would consider a hobby, but maybe it might turn into a profession with this podcast and many other things. And I feel like the drive to learn more is something that's not necessarily a unique trait, but it's definitely hard to come by. And I feel like I really possess that myself. Another few things I guess that I would say is I'm pretty patient. And by patient, the specific situation that's coming to my mind is, again, like I said previously, I've found myself consistently in a role as an educator. And what I've found is that I have a lot of patience when it comes to sitting down with the student in the situation, whether it's hockey or in an academic setting. I really understand the struggle of learning. I really understand what it's like to be discouraged and in a situation where you might not know anything. And being in the role of an educator, you really gotta have some kind of empathy, some kind of understanding to the point where you could really address that. And then I guess the last thing I'll mention is passionate. This is sort of tied in more so with the intellectually curious, but when I learn about something, I'm typically passionate about it. I don't just stop after, a few hours. And I definitely will talk about it to anyone that's close to me. I'll talk their ears off about it. Secret definitely being one of them. And I feel like passion is definitely, again, something that's an incredibly important thing for anyone to really have if they want to succeed in this world.
That is awesome. Yeah, I absolutely relate to the intellectually curious. I feel like that's imperative. People talk about knowledge being power, but I feel like there's very much focus right now in becoming an expert on one aspect. Like, oh, it's better to get a doctorate in one thing and be completely clueless about everything else. And historically, that's just not how great minds have worked. You have the Leonardo da Vinci's, and most geniuses are, if you look into a G factor, if you're really good in one thing, you're good in a lot of things. And so why not become well-rounded? Why limit your one life here to just one aspect and become great at that? You can become great at more things. Just put in the time, the effort, keep the curiosity, and keep learning. Always learning. That's awesome. A little bit about me, the way I'd like to be described to my great grandkids is I love puns, wordplay, and game theory. I know it's kind of silly, like, oh, like, why is that special about you? I feel like that'd be a way for them to kind of connect to me. Like, I love to compete. And so everyone thought that, oh, like, oh, Eric's just too competitive. I'm not. I don't actually care that much about winning. I love competition. I love games. I love winning, but that's not what it's about for me. For me, it's the activity of expressing live game theory in action where you don't know the results. I find it fascinating. Where it's gambling and got into card counting or professional poker playing, or whether it's cryptocurrency. It's not about becoming rich. And I do think that I and you listeners getting involved here will get rich doing this. But to me, it's about the process. Because again, money's only going to get you material things. And I've been well off and I have been dirt poor. And what's consistent is who you are and your mindset and your family. And so that's a little bit about me. So one thing that I've been a little bit known for in the community is I have gotten a lot of people that are previously no coiners who don't own any cryptocurrency, who don't really have a lot of exposure even to Bitcoin or knowing what it is, involved in the secret network. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you're brand new here, or you've been here a long time and you want to know like what makes secret network different or special from something else, I'm going to go ahead and walk through real quick kind of what that spiel, that pitch is, so you can kind of see just a short overview, a simplification of the value proposition that secret network is offering. So Bitcoin is the first blockchain, and blockchain is kind of like a money version of a distributed ledger, which is some technology that was coming out a little bit before that. And if you think of ledger like a receipt or a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, then distributed, instead of just one person having the receipt, instead of just one person working on an Excel spreadsheet, everybody, or at least a lot of people, would have access to it, who could see it and work with it. And then blockchain came around with Bitcoin, and they found out how to transfer value where each person can own the actual cells of a spreadsheet and you can send it to people so that then you can transfer money. And that's one of the reasons that Bitcoin specifically took off instead of some of the other DLTs out in the space at that time. It's because it was about money, and that fascinates people. But after Bitcoin, the next generation, as this technology evolves, the next evolution was Ethereum. And they took that spreadsheet and they figured out how to propagate and fill it with formulas. So that it sounds simple, but if you just put in your Excel spreadsheet equals 2 plus 2, and it's going to spit out 4. But what this means is now you can set up kind of computer mechanisms like machines that will execute whatever you propose as soon as thresholds get hit. Now, what that looks like currently, it's going to evolve into more, but what that looks like currently is AMMs, automated market makers, instead of having centralized exchanges that have to host your wallets and keep track of all the coins and whatnot. It's like little machine computers where if you put in this, it will execute a contract through its liquidity providers and spit you out another coin. You don't need people anymore. I know people get concerned like, no, like machines are going to like outdate or robots are going to take over the workforce. But what this means is it means efficiency, it means decentralization, it means less user error, it means more data security, or at least eventually. Because what Ethereum makes in value proposition, what they make possible, they don't make pragmatic because everyone can still see this Excel spreadsheet. And corporations aren't going to actively start using these smart contracts. They're already having to worry about corporate espionage and people stealing their ideas and trying to figure out what they're doing. And now, if you just put it public where anybody at home in their mom's basement can go and view it and see what's going on in their smart contract. And we've already seen Mark Cuban win an NFT auction, and boom, everybody knows his wallet address. Everybody knows what he has. He was just involved owning a currency that ended up going to zero, or in the crypto sphere, we call having the rug pulled. And everyone's giving him crap about it because, well, I invested because you had it. Nobody should have known he had it. He didn't broadcast that. And that's what Secret Network brings in this next evolution of cryptocurrency. It brings privacy, which sometimes has a negative connotation, but really shouldn't. I mean, look, I don't care if you like going to the restroom and if you have the stall open, that's on you. But don't you like having there be a door that you can close if you like? Because right now in the rest of cryptocurrency, there's not. And there have been other privacy projects like Monero, we have a bridge coming soon, or Zcash that focus on transactional privacy. And that's taking the Bitcoin pre-Ethereum evolution and being able to transfer that value privately, which is good and is important. But as of right now, Secret Network is still the only project, and it's been out for a while, the only project with mainnet private smart contracts, which means that it's actually the smart contract that is computationally private so that people can't see the formulas inside your Excel spreadsheet. You can have set X to equal Y when Z triggers, and people can't manipulate and trigger Z. On the automated market makers, the AMMs, your sushi swaps or Uniswaps, where Ethereum's losing over 1 billion, or Ethereum users are losing over $1 billion in funds to MEV, which is miner extracted value. Here, that's not possible in Secret Network because the miners can't see what you're buying to then place a higher gas order and buy it first and sell it to you with slippage, where you're having to spend more on every single purchase. Like, it's unusable, let alone the high gas fees. Nobody sees that information in Secret Network. The nodes, the miners, nobody can see it. And that's huge because while Ethereum did make a ton of things possible, Secret Network is going to follow the vision of Enigma, the core contributing development team behind it, who's been around since 2017, based out of MIT. And that was to bring decentralized applications to the masses, be the first platform to offer it to millions of people. And so they're taking what Ethereum built, what Ethereum made possible, and they're making it pragmatic. And that's why we're here. And that's why we think this is a huge, huge platform that's pivotal to how blockchain is able to transform the world. Because everyone thinks it will, but it's impossible without Secret Network. It's kind of the missing piece.
Yeah, no, I guess I wanted to address personally privacy in general, and then maybe within crypto. I think there's a few misconceptions that need to be addressed that most people associate privacy basically being the same thing as anonymity. Very important difference, especially for people just starting to learn about crypto to understand. So the difference between, for me, anonymity and privacy is that privacy is the idea of having some level of transparency that can be given to the necessary parties. It's not, you don't want everything exposed right from the get-go. You want to be private by default instead of public by default. You want to pick and choose what you want to have as public and pick and choose as private.
You can share your credit card number with somebody, but you should have to share it.
Exactly, exactly. Anonymity, I feel like that is more of the idea of having almost complete control and almost not even giving the option to share, to have total lockdown over your data, your transactions, and where secret network and how these decentralized applications can be built is that two parties, maybe both sides interacting with the contract, one will only do business if some verifiable info meets their criteria. If data that is chosen to be shared meets the requirements for them. But in that whole process of sharing it, obviously it isn't exposed to everyone. So I think that just understanding the need for privacy in crypto is very important. And then the other misconception I really wanted to address was that some people might not think that privacy is not even in crypto, but just in general. Privacy isn't necessarily a big problem. And, maybe because not enough people are talking about it, not enough people care maybe about their sensitive info when they're, registering for websites. They more so care about convenience. And I feel like to say that the lack of attention translates directly into the low level priority of the problem is like, it's not the right idea to have because, again, with privacy, it comes down to education. People don't treat it as a big problem because they don't understand just how big of a problem it is. I feel like that's part of the task that we're trying to solve with this podcast, to really bring to light the necessity of privacy and the necessity of, being able to pick and choose.
Yeah, and we'll have you guys right there alongside of it with the people who are working on creating it. And so you'll know not only what it is, but how to use it, how it's being developed, and every aspect of it. So I'm excited for where we're going. What are some of your goals for Secret Network as a whole?
For me personally, and I feel like most of the community is behind the idea of Secret Network becoming the privacy hub of not just Cosmos, but the whole blockchain ecosystem, bridge to everyone and allowing for them to have this privacy functionality on top of maybe what they already do, while obviously enjoying some other very cool features like scalability and interoperability. I would also like to see Secret have very differentiated dApps built on them that really take advantage of the unique functionality that basically can't necessarily be built in ecosystems like Ethereum. I feel like with privacy, the sky's the limit, and my goal for Secret Network is to really take advantage of that, especially in the near future. In the near future, I would also like to see, with those differentiated dApps, use of sensitive data to be actually active on the network. Right now, we're still in the stage of trading occurring. So, again, there's not necessarily any real sensitive info that if it got exposed, it would necessarily be catastrophe. Right now, if that were to be exposed, then we'd just be like every other blockchain with front running non-resistant AMMs. But once we have things like decentralized identities, digital identities, I feel like that's going to be extremely powerful, and I can't wait for the stakes to be much bigger, which again is a scary thing, but also a very exciting thing. I feel like we're on the frontier, and it's very exciting times.
Yeah, one of the reasons we're starting this podcast now is because we are well aware not only of what's currently going on and being developed and the use cases that it will achieve, but also about how many new users will be onboarded very soon. And so they're going to need content and media to catch up and to start trying to understand this because we've got billions of people to reach and they're going to need content. They're going to need knowledge. But you are absolutely right about where you see it going and what's going to be cool to be built on it. Some of my goals for Secret Network is I want it to be an integral part of the new internet, the Web3. People are calling it the Web3 stack. Obviously, multiple blockchains and multiple ecosystems will be large contributors of it. And I think we're going to bring the HTTPS. We're going to bring the just using the trusted enclaves to censor data so that people can use their credit card information, pay their bills online like they currently do in a way that's safe for them, in a way that's not going to show everything. When we can use projects like Uber or whatever else gets built and not have everybody know where everyone lives and know their routes and when they're out of their house. Like simply you can't even have a poker app successfully run on the blockchain, on a different blockchain, because anyone looking at the feed before the way goes in will see what cards you have. And so that's one of the small things being built on Secret. That's awesome. But eventually, I want Secret Network to not only be integral for all of Web3, but I also want it to really expand and use some of the use cases that are unique to it. I want to see secret NFTs take off and have subscription models, which aren't possible with other networks where you have complete access to the private key and can send it separately, whereas you can send masked access on Secret Network, which is just absolutely fascinating. We've seen how subscription models are so successful with how it's taken over all business, not only with streaming services, but music, TV, any app you have. Like everyone wants to do subscriptions. Like, oh, you don't have to pay $100, just $5 a month for the rest of your life. You'll forget about it. So I really do see a lot of growth there. What are some of your goals for the Secret Network community, where we come from and who we're trying to appeal to, grow, and strengthen?
Ideally, I see the secret community becoming one of the most cohesive communities in crypto, something reminiscent of the Link Marines or the XRP Army. I feel like secret agents, we have this level of cohesion that's already very promising, in my opinion. But I feel like, we're one step away from taking it to the next level. And I feel like some great work's already being done with the awareness committee and the education committee to really try and onboard more agents and to really, expand on how they can interact with the broader ecosystem and how they can contribute in terms of, spreading the word. I also believe that it's going to be up to the community, including us, to educate on privacy being a human right, and privacy's necessity in the digital world, in crypto. And I think we will play a crucial role in understanding the problem and how Secret can help solve it.
Yeah, I'd really like the. I think cohesive is a very good word. I love where our community's at. I think we're one of the most supportive communities, not only in providing information, but we have a pizza group for people who need gas because they ran out of secret because they put everything in secret or whatnot, and we'll send you half a secret and they send it back or whatnot just to free that up. Like everyone's involved. There are bunches of Telegram groups, committees. Everyone has a role that they can fill should they choose to. And this is us stepping into ours and choosing to. And I really want to see more people that are currently in the community that have been here for years start reaching out, start writing articles. Hit us up on email at secretlifepodcast@protonmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at slifepodcast. You know me, I'm in all the Telegram groups at Eric_Superman. And Polly with 8 Ds afterwards is in there too. But we're taking the step. We want the rest of the community to take steps and whatever their comfort zone is as well, whether it's starting to run a node, which we might be doing soon, whether it's getting involved on a committee, taking a leadership role for the first time. And our first guest next week will actually be one of these people who started out in the community and took a next step up. And we're going to talk to him about how he was able to achieve that and what steps he took. So stay tuned for that. We actually have some great guests lined up, and I'm very excited for it. But I want the current community to get ready to onboard with open arms, really millions of people, because Secret Network is going to be huge. The price will reflect it, but we're not here for the price. And that's what separates our community apart. It's important, and it will offer us the opportunity to start making content with more time of our day and hopefully free us financially for our families. But this is an ethos that is important. And if crypto was to take off without Secret Network, I'm very concerned with what that would look like for us as humans. Like it's more important than just us getting rich. It's whether or not we have any privacy or any availability at all. And if you could picture a world without it, which right now you can't for good reasons, it is really scary. And our community is going to help facilitate that growth that the developers and the rest of the people in the ecosystem have been working tirelessly to create for years. We've survived bear markets, attacks from of all kinds. We've survived far more than most crypto projects, and we're still growing strong. It's going to be wonderful. What goals do you have specifically for our podcast?
Personally, my goal for this podcast is to be a platform for voices of the ecosystem to be heard. Ideally, I see two main parties. I see the contributors and the community, and obviously they overlap, those two groups, but more so one is building and the other one's supporting. And ideally, it's a give and take relationship where the contributors need to get their word out and especially the smaller contributors. I feel like there needs to be a medium that's better designed to get their word out directly to the community itself. And I feel like the podcast can definitely serve that role. And for the community, I feel like the podcast, especially when we allow the community to interact through giveaways and incentivized activities, and we can allow the community to ask their questions and have their voices be heard. To have this be a two-way conversation rather than us just accepting the news as it rolls in. I think that's going to be very important. And the last thing I would want to mention too is that, especially when you're on the sidelines of a project and you're following it in crypto, you tend to really focus on the price as your indicator for growth. And the exact case that I think of, again, it's obviously not a direct analogy, but a company like Amazon, which struggled to be profitable for a while, had an incredible idea. And if you understood e-commerce, if you understood the power of what it was trying to solve, you would understand that it would have been as worth as much as it is now. And it really did struggle in terms of price, obviously with the 2008 crash and even an internet bubble. But again, there's this famous quote, I'm going to be paraphrasing it here, but Jeff Bezos said that he remembered looking at the price tanking. And he said that this is crazy. What do these people know? He's looking at internal reports, seeing revenue go up, margins go up, everything was going up, all metrics, and the price did not reflect that. And he just kept telling himself that who knew better than him? Who knew better than the people building? And I feel like that might be the case for crypto, but why not include the community in on that? It becomes much more of an enjoyable experience to support a project when you have direct access to ongoing developments, when you're more so following the development than the price. Then you can be more regularly active, rather than being active only when we're going through a bull run and then half the community disappears. If people are following developments, then it's definitely going to be more consistent. And that's my goal for the podcast, is to try and introduce that connection between the contributors and the community, allowing for that regular follow-up on these developments, which are super exciting.
They are, and those are awesome goals. And one of the reasons we clicked and started this partnership is because we see very similarly on what our role can and should be and how it can develop to support the growth not only of the ecosystem but also of the community. And some of my goals for this podcast are to get involved, get literally feet on the ground and go to universities and advertise this and take part in giveaways. And also, we're talking about building bridges with Secret Network. We have Ethereum bridges and Binance Smart Chain bridges live with Terra, Cosmos, and Polkadot all in the works, plus probably more. I want us as the community to take a decentralized approach and to bridge the core contributors and the community so that the community, which includes us, can go through us and have a way of reaching out to core contributors and see their development, see their work through their eyes. And then they also can see kind of what the project looks like from the outside, like from the people who are watching and following, but not actively on GitHub, not in the private meetings, not in any committees yet. And everyone can get a more multifaceted perspective of the decentralized decosystem, as I choose to call it. And I think we're uniquely positioned to do that. I've been a big fan of Tor's podcast, from Decentralize This to Sharing Secrets. And one thing that he consistently talked about and the importance of decentralization is that it's hard to build things, to actively build things with decentralization. If something's centralized, it's really easy to build. I got my bachelor's in philosophy, and one of my favorite philosophies, Tolstoy, talked about his optimal form of government, the only one that could work. And what he said is that it has to be a monarchy. It has to be a kingship, because that's the only way there won't be too much confliction. You need one person to make decisions, and the decisions will be made. Now, he further specifies that it has to be someone that's completely elected by the people, and it also has to be somebody that is above the people. But it also shows that it is really difficult to build with decentralization. There always will be conflicting ideas, and we hope with this podcast to also bring cohesion. And if there are two sides of a coin, then to find ways for them to work together. And I think we've already been doing that on the sidelines, and we'll have some exciting developments coming from that in the next couple weeks and months. So stay tuned. We will be going big places as you guys grow, as you come in with us. If you're just finding Secret Network, if you're just getting involved in the community or ready to take that next step, please reach out. Send us emails anytime at secretlifepodcast@protonmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at slifepodcast. We will be bringing written content in additional to a weekly podcast. We will try to have guests from every side of the secret network or any type of involvement in it that you might not even be familiar with yet. So we're reaching out. We're getting great reception so far, and we will continue to strive towards the adoption and growth of Secret Network and stay true to the community, which we are a part of. Well, this concludes episode 0, the introductory episode of the Secret Life podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the Secret Network, visit scrt.network and start reading up and getting involved. If you want to start trading on the first privacy-preserving and MEV and front-running resistant decentralized exchange, check out secretswap.io and start trading today. We'll be back to you guys next Sunday with another episode. Thank you for listening to the Secret Life podcast. For the community, by the community. New episodes every Sunday. Secret Sunday. No way. You did it. You listened to the entire outro of our podcast. Listening to the entire outro of a podcast shows that you care, so let us know you care by emailing us at secretlifepodcast@protonmail.com. Mention outro and we'll send you the custom links to our Telegram group in which you can learn who the weekly guests will be ahead of time and take part in gathering questions, sending feedback, and all of the other organic processes of this show's development. Your input becomes our output, so please get involved. Thank you.